Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Team Memes Not Meta video. I'm team member Bryan, and today we are going to be looking at a very highly anticipated game, and finally it is here. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Many of you guys asked for it, so we are going to finally give you a video on it. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So here we are with my Lair Infernoid deck that we have shown off before in a previous video, with some minor changes since, as many of you may know, Master Duel has its own ban list. So I'm going to quickly go over a couple of the changes that I made to my deck. So for one, reasoning is at 3, so obviously you have to throw in 3 reasoning, it's just that good. So because reasoning is now unlimited in this new ban list, I decided to add in another monster gate and to throw in and to get rid of all of the hand traps that have levels. Some of you might not like this change, and I myself am kind of thinking about going back to using hand traps, maybe getting rid of reasonings, etc, etc. But so far it's not been horrible. I have definitely been able to see great success with this. Using this deck alone, I've made it into Platinum 1, so it is definitely a usable deck. The reason why you cannot use hand traps with Reasoning and Monster Gate is because they will summon, and the point of Infernoids is you want to get as many cards as you can, as many monsters as you can, into the graveyard. So without the hand traps, the only thing that can be summoned is Dekatron, which of course allows you to get more Infernoids into the graveyard, allows you to get some very powerful abilities, which is just a very good card. I decided to take out the Arima and instead replaced him with a terraforming and a metaverse. I still would like to see the Lair of Darkness, but I don't need to see it as much, especially since it's a lot easier to get cards into the grave now. I'm using the 2 called bys since, you know, a lot of this deck has ashable targets, so call by the graves at 2. I want them both in there. Other than that though, the deck is mostly the same, as you can probably see. For the extra deck, it is completely the same. I didn't add anything. I haven't tried anything new with the extra deck. I just use the same old extra deck. So now that you've seen what I've done with this, I think it's high time we get into some games. So I'm going to show you 2 replays, and I'm going to do 1 live game with this exact deck. So here we go with our first replay. Just by going off my hand that I have right now, I have a pretty good hand. I have the Infinite Permanence to stop anything that he tries to do. Void Feast, which is a very good going first card, but I am going second actually this game. Void Imagination, very good going second card. And 2 Infernoids. So let's see what the opponent is going to do. So we can see here, he's playing the classic Drytron Herald of Perfection deck. He's going to start using all of his angels, all the Bentons, to grab his fairies, to grab his ritual effects. Benton's effect activates, gets his Diviner of the Herald. He's going to summon the Diviner of Herald, and he's going to attempt to send the Synchro monster from extra deck, but I'm going to imperm this. I do not want him to search for any more ritual monsters, any more ritual cards. So I always like to hit the Divine Herald. He's going to XC though into the Drytron Mu Beta Fafnir. Activates effects to try and put a Drytron into the grave, and then he's going to use his ritual card. And we get to see the pretty animations for ritualing, and he's actually going to summon the Cyberator Angel Benton, which I thought was a bit of a weird play here, but if it works, it works. He's going to then, of course, bring back the ritual card using its effect, summon back his Drytrons, and he's going to, looks like a Link, into Union Carrier, another card that is no longer banned with the nice shiny prismatic version. He's going to get the Eva onto the field because Eva, he wants to get more angels. He's going to call by his Angel of Perfection, and now he's going to summon his Angel of Perfection using the Union Carrier with the Eva on it. Eva goes to the grave, allowing him to bring 2 fairies into his hand by banishing the 2 he had on Fear. And he's going to bring a Light and another Diviner. Then he's going to bring back his other Drytron to get back his ritual card. And looks like he's going to link into Link Haribo. Now this is a pretty hard board to get over, but as you will see, we're going to try and get over it. I got the lucky top deck of the Dekatron, which he has to negate because Dekatron can do so much. So he negates it, destroys it, yada yada. Here I summon Cetus Mass, and to try and bait out the negate, which he does indeed negate. Now I know he only had 2 fairies in his hand and 2 other cards. So I play the Infernoid Vanishment, or Imagination, to see if I could get it off, and I did. Here's Tierra now on the field, using the very nice animations. And with that, I can now send the Elder Entity Instances to the graveyard to destroy the rest of his field. Now, funny enough, he actually had his own Elder Entity that he used to destroy my card, which is completely fine. The whole point of Infernoids is actually to get rid of the Tierra, since it's too many levels on the field. So him destroying it actually helps me out in a way. I was going to get rid of it myself. But I have enough Infernoids in the grave now, with the Imagination sending 6 from deck to grave to summon all the Infernoids I need to OTK him. So summoning Cetus Mass and Atandal, I'm able to go into Doolittle Chimera. This gives a nice little 500 boost to every fire monster on the field. I now just need to summon back the Atandal and the Cetus Mass from grave and attack for the game. And a nice win for us there against Drytron. So you can see this deck can go up against even Drytrons, especially even with Union Carrier unbanned. Alright, without further ado, let's go into the next one. So here we go with the next replay. Just going off my hand, I actually have a pretty poor hand. I have a Solemn Judgment, Lair of Darkness, Imagination, a Nonku, and an Antra. Solemn Judgment, not a very good card going second, can't really use it. Lair of Darkness is pretty well, but I actually have no follow-up with it. I do not have any of the big Infernoids to tribute off of. Void Imagination, of course, it's amazing, but only if they summon an extra deck monster. And then I have 2 Infernoids. Anonku, not a very good card to see in my hand. I'd rather have him in deck. He's basically a Garnet when drawn, but he is still at least a little usable, so I guess he's not as bad as a Garnet, but very close. So, let's see what the opponent has to do. So the opponent is playing Tri-Brigades here. So he's going to use all the Tri-Brigades effects to get them all into the graveyard. I'm sure you've seen this before if you've ever played against Tri-Brigades. Bring the Fractal to his hand, summon the Fractal, and then he's going to Link Summon using the Fractal's effect. He's going to start special summoning back his Tri-Brigades. He actually brings out an Ancient Warrior card now, and then links the rest of them into Appaloosa. Now the Ancient Warrior, I have seen this card before, but never before in Tri-Brigades, so this was a first for me. And this is his board, a Appaloosa with 3 negates, and the Ancient Warriors. So I immediately decide a Lair of Darkness to see what he's got. This forces the Tri-Brigade Revolt, which is what I was hoping for. I did not see him search for Tri-Brigade Revolt. He luckily just had it in his hand. But I knew that in Tri-Brigades, there's probably only about 1 card that you would set, and of course it's the Revolt. So this baits out the Revolt into, of course, the Ominous Omen. And here he's going to activate Omen to banish, of course, my Lair of Darkness. And he also gets off his Nerval effect to bring a Fractal to hand. Now, I luckily drew a Void Imagination, which allows me to actually use it twice now, since he has all these extract monsters. So, he had an Ash Blossom in hand. This would have been game right here if I did not draw that extra Void Imagination, so luckily for me, I had a second one. So, we play the second Void Imagination, activate its effects, and hopefully this time he has nothing to stop it. And he does not. So we get this nice little beautiful animation we have for summoning Tierra. And I don't even activate its effects, so he can't Appaloosa it. He's decided to send it away, but as you know, we want Tierra to be away, so pretty good. So here I decided to summon my Devyati, so that he cannot activate any effects. And there I use Cetus Mass to banish his big monster there. Couldn't remember its name. So he luckily draws a Pot of Desires for him. I decide to straight up Solemn Judgment this. I do not want him to have any opportunity to draw or to do anything. I know the card he has in his hand other than Pot, and it's Fractal. So he attempts to use his effect. Here, I just straight up banish it. I do not want anything to do with any summoning. I want him to have no monsters. And with that, he immediately surrenders. Alright, now that you've seen 2 replays, let's go into an actual game. Alright guys, looks like we finally found a match with Pony Hunter. So he got the coin flip, and we are going second, which is what Infernoids love to do. So let's see if we can't get a W out of this one. Looking at our hand, we have a very good hand, even going first if we had to. Void Banishment allows us to search for another feast if we so choose, or an imagination. Reasoning, Decatron, Atondel, very good cards. Looks like he is playing... I'm not quite sure, honestly. I've never seen this archetype before, so this is new territory for me. Looks like this deck is playing no extra deck. Interesting. Is this a Monarch deck? Quite some spicy cards there. Interesting. So it is a Monarch deck. He put the Prime Monarch into his graveyard, allows him to summon it back if he so chooses. He's going to use the Tenacity to reveal one monster, search for a Monarch spell or trap card, add it to his hand. We'll see what he adds. So having no extra deck is quite bad for us. He's going to grab the Stormforth, allowing him to tribute one of my monsters. And then he's going to use the Pantheon Engrave, banish it. Normally when people banish this card and reveal the 3 Monarch spell and traps, they choose the same one. We'll see what he chooses. He's going to choose different ones. I have to choose what I want to give him. So I'm actually going to give him this one. This card is not very good for him, since my deck will not be setting a lot of cards, and if he uses it on a set card, I can immediately activate it. He brings out the Heavenly Squire. He's going to summon the other one, Yugioh. Allows him to get an extra normal summoner set. And this is where, he already had the domain in hand, which is why he did not use the third one. Again, that's fine. Giving him the other one is kind of useless for this deck. He's going to show us the other Monarch he already showed us. Tribute one of his cards for it. So he's going to actually use this to get rid of my extra deck, which is unlucky for him because I want to get rid of my extra deck. Since I will have no way of getting rid of it this game anyway, I'm going to send as much as I can. He's going to choose, though, which is, again, quite fine. I'm not going to be using my extra deck this game. So let's see what he decides to send. He sent all the general ones, which, you know, fair. I'm probably wasn't going to be using many of these. He's going to actually end without setting the Stormforth. Quite interesting there. Here we have the Terraforming. What a nice top deck. Very, very nice indeed. So we're going to activate the Terraforming immediately. Grab us our Lair of Darkness from our deck. He either does not have an Ash or did not want to use it on that for whatever reason. We shall now activate the Lair immediately. Unless he has an Ogre in hand, he cannot get rid of that. We can now summon our Decatron and attempt to activate its effect. Should not be able to get it without a Veiler or an Ash in hand, which, again, do not think he does. So at this point, we're actually going to get rid of his field spell. Since I know the other two are in his deck, I'd rather him not use that at all. So we'll just destroy it. And then immediately, we shall activate Reasoning. Just to see what cards we can get in the graveyard. He should say level 1 monster. I'm not sure why he would choose anything else. Oh, okay, he chose level 5 for some reason. Level 5 is not even the common one. I can at least see level 4, but level 5, not many decks on level 5s at all. Always want to choose level 1 or level 4. I probably shouldn't be telling you this because that works against my deck. So you know what? Choose level 5 all you want. I'm fine with that. Because he activated that, we get a free Reasoning. free Decatron is what I meant to say, along with anything else we sent. So I'll activate the Decatron effect again. And this time we're actually going to send... probably going to send... Antra at this point. No, we'll send the Harmonic. I was thinking about putting that back in his hand, but there's no reason to, so we'll just get rid of it. Opponent is thinking about something in his hand or in his graveyard. It is probably the Prime Monarch card in his graveyard, unless he does happen to have a hand trap in there. So we can special summon something. Looks like he did not get rid of all the things. He did not get rid of the Wee Witch. But it does not matter to me. I'd rather have the Decatrons on field. So now we're going to activate our Void Banishment. We'll get rid of the Atandal and search for a Void Feast. Now then, we shall set 2, and we shall end there. I'd rather have the Decatrons on the field than put them in the grave. I could have got rid of his monster here and banished his Prime Monarch by going into the Wee Witch, but I'd rather have the option of keeping the Decatrons on field since I know he has the Stormforth in his hand. I'd rather not put monsters on the field that he can tribute very easily. It's just not worth it. He actually does like Lair of Darkness too, since he's going to be tributing a lot. He's going to be using a lot of tributes to get tokens on his side of the field, but it's fine. I'd rather have the tributes to get rid of his monsters. At this point, we're playing more of a lengthy game. Since he doesn't have an extra deck, it's very hard for me to OTK him without getting a lot of Infernoids in the graveyard off of a Reasoning or something. Which, the Reasoning gave us quite a few, but not enough to OTK him, especially since he got rid of our Equimax and... Arhita. He did not get rid of actually the Doolittle, very surprising there. He got rid of the Gravity Controller instead, which I would not be using because I'm not going to be summoning from the extra deck. I would only use the Gravity Controller off of a Tierra. So here comes the Prime Monarch. I'm going to banish one other thing to summon it. At this point we cannot allow this, so we're going to immediately use our Decatron effect. We shall actually tribute our own monster, since I do not want to tribute that quite yet, and we'll just banish it from his graveyard. Rather not have him have any more monsters on the field, so we'll just get rid of that. Normally I would activate one of my feasts immediately to set up negates on the field, but I only have the one Decatron in the deck. And I don't even think I have... I actually do have both an Anonku and a Devyati, so maybe I should have used it immediately, but I am not going to yet. The one thing about Master Duel that they have not allowed yet is, unlike Ignis, you actually cannot activate Feast during the standby phase of your opponent's turn, which is quite annoying, so they can react with any one card before you're able to activate any traps. I assume that this is the same thing for Anti-Spell Fragrance and other cards like that. Imperial Order, which was recently banned, but not in this. So it is quite unfortunate that I'm not able to activate Feast in the standby phase. I've actually lost one game to that so far due to that, but it is not that big of a deal. So here he's going to use 1-for-1 to summon out probably the Heavenly Squire from deck. He did send one of his Monarchs though. I assume he has another one in hand, because that is the good Monarch that usually people send. Maybe it's because I have no hand at the moment. He's going to use his Heavenly Squire to summon out, I assume, another Yugioh. There it is. Gives him another normal summon, so at the moment he actually has 2 normal summons. And then he's going to use another Pantheism. So he's going to draw 2 off of that. I cannot stop it. He opted to not actually destroy it, or to use the Frost Blast to try and destroy one of my face downs. I assume he has a monster with 2400 or more attack. Actually, he did. I assume he couldn't summon it though, and that's why he opted to get rid of it. He still will target one of my set cards. So at this point, I will activate, of course, my Void Feast. Sending my Void Banishment. So here's a little spice tech for you. You can actually use a Void Feast and send the other Void Feast to the graveyard as cost, allowing me to get the price of 2 Void Feasts off of just 1 Void card. So I always do like to try and get 2 off at the same time. And then we're also going to chain our Decatron effect here, sending himself to the graveyard and getting rid of his Pantheism. We do not want him to get another Monarch card from his deck. So we'll banish it now, so he cannot banish it on his turn when he gets a chance. Now, at this point, we're actually going to summon our 1 Decatron and face up defense, since he has monsters with more than 500 attack. Our 1 Cetus Mass. And then with this one, we have to summon the Andra and the Sajet, since we do not have any other Decatrons in our deck. And at this point, the card that we actually want to use here is Storm Forth. We want to negate Storm Forth, since I know he has it in his hand, along with 2 other cards. So we're going to get rid of the Anonku here. He has the Emergency Teleport. Very interesting card in this deck. This, I'm not sure what Psychic-type monster he's using, but we are not going to negate it. I assume the Psychic-type monster he has in his deck is going to be Ghost Ogre. That's the only monster that I can think of that you would run in a Monarch deck. Because these are all warriors. A Super Quantum Blue. Interesting. Very interesting card. I would never have suspected him to be playing Super Quant in a Monarch deck. The other card that he used, the Pendulum, actually made sense. It was a draw one, a special summon. But Quantums... quite interesting deck here, but it made it to Plat 1, so it must be good, correct? Or at least usable. I assume he's playing the Quants for this effect, if you control a monster special on this card from your hand, but using blue to search it seems kind of interesting. The blue doesn't seem to make sense. So at this point, we're going to tribute. We will tribute actually our Antra. We do not want that Stormforth being used. Antra is of no consequence losing. I'd rather attempt to try and keep my Decatron on field for as long as possible. If I can survive, if he can survive till next turn, that's awesome. If not, no big deal. We can tribute his monsters. So this does tell me, since he used the Stormforth, that tells me he probably has another monster in his hand, or at least another spell and trap that he was trying to bait out my negate with. I'm not sure what spell or trap would be so powerful as to try and bait it out at the moment. Maybe it's a Lightning Storm that would hurt if he's able to get rid of all of his monsters. Maybe it's a Raigeki. But more than likely not, it was not a bait and he actually just had a monster in his hand. And it looks like it did. He had the Heavenly Monarch. So I'm just going to use that. I don't actually remember Heavenly Squire's effect Engrave. He's going to target one of his banished ones added to his hand. That's fine. He already had the 1 card. I assume he targeted the Pantheon. I did not see what he actually targeted. He targeted the Domain. Interesting. Interesting. Targeting the Domain. And he summons out another Ether. So we still do not want him to be using any Pantheism effects. So we're going to banish his other Pantheon. And I'll tribute actually his monster, since I assume he has no more big monsters in his hand. If he does, I might have messed up there. But I assume he only had the Heavenly one in hand. So let's see what he is thinking about doing. He's going to banish his underworld to special summon another squire. I'm not going to stop him from doing that. Since he already used his squire's effect, he cannot use it again. So the only reason he's summoning this is for another tribute. But I'm not sure why he needs another tribute. He should already have plenty, unless he would have something like a god card in his hand for some reason. Tribute summon for the Super Quantum. Interesting. And then here goes the domain. So here he goes attacking my Decatron. So we're just going to banish that, and we're going to attempt to banish his Prime. That stops his attack completely, and now he has to attack. He'll go into my Cetus Mass. Completely fine, I can summon him back next turn. And here he's going to attack into my Sajet, since Domain gives him an extra 800 attack, since it was a tribute summon monster. Lair of Darkness is going to activate, giving him 3 tokens, since he tributed so much on his turn, of course. Which, again, is quite fine. We'll get rid of all those. So we're going to go into the 2 monsters that everyone knows and loves in this deck. Banishing our Antra and a Decatron. And banishing a Monarch and a Decatron. Since we do not need the Decatrons anymore, we'll go into these 2 monsters. And with that, we can just go right into the battle phase. We're actually going to immediately use Cetus Mass's effect and tribute his Quantal, since we can't really get rid of that. Since it's tributed, it's going to gain 800 attack during the battle phase. And we're going to start banishing... We're going to banish his Underworld. We do not want him banishing that and getting another Squire on the field, so we'll just banish it now. So with that, we can start attacking. We'll go into Edna. Since it'll go to the graveyard, it can still activate its effects, of course, but this allows my Atandal to attack once again. He's going to activate the Storm Forth. It's fine by me. And now we can just attack a bunch of tokens. And main phase 2, we can banish his field spell once again. I just want to check what I can special summon into. Only the Wee Witch at the moment, so we're not going to. At this point, we can end our turn and get 1 token. So we know what he has in his hand right now at the moment. Before that draw, he has his Heavenly Mother. And it's Heavenly Monarch. I thought it was called Mother. Heavenly Monarch he has in hand, and he has the Stormforth. So if that other card is a dead card in his hand, he really does not have much that he can do. He can Stormforth away one of my monsters, but other than that, he does not really have many other plays. So because he's activating Stormforth, this is going to be a bit risky on my part. Because this card can only be tribute summoned with 1 tributed summon monster, normally it takes 2, I'm actually going to activate my Atandal's effect and tribute the token. This might be a mistake, but that is what I'm going to do. This way, he has to summon another monster to summon his mother. So if he drew another monster that is level 7 or above, he will have no plays at the moment. And with that, the risk paid off. It looks like the card he had in hand wasn't anything too special. And now, with that, he surrendered because he has no other place. Alright guys, I thank you for joining in for this Master Duel session, and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any other decks that you'd like to see in Master Duel, I will try my best to build them, but of course, gems are very hard to come by. I'd rather not spend any money on this game. This deck was made completely free, with only a couple of solo battles and duels that I've done myself, but I'll try my best to make any deck that you guys want to see in the future. As always, thank you for joining me in this, and I hope that you hit that like button, put some comments into this video, and also try and join our Discord. Link will be in the description. Have a great rest of your day, guys.